A good villain is just as important as the hero. After all, without them, we'd never get to see what the hero is made of. Which is why it's so frustrating when a villain falls flat, especially when it's due to some extremely stupid decisions on their part that could have been easily avoided if the writer had just put a little more thought into it. Today, I'm covering the stupid shit villains do. Before we begin, I should note, a villain doesn't have to be smart. In fact, a dumbass with too much power is way more intimidating than a genius with no resources. The problem with the things I'm about to list isn't simply that they're done by villains, but that they're done by villains who are supposed to be intelligent. If you want us to believe that your villain is smart, make sure you avoid the following. Number 1. Keeping the keys to the cell in reach of the prisoners. The number of times I've seen this drives me absolutely nuts. The heroes are locked away in a cell, and the keys are just hanging on the wall nearby, or attached to a guard who will inevitably fall asleep or get knocked out in some way. If you want your prisoners to stay in their cell, keep the keys on your person. Or better yet, in a locked safe somewhere only you know the combination to. It's really not that hard. Number 2. Speaking of cells, quit keeping the heroes locked away in the same cell together, or in cells so close that they can still talk to each other. It only gives them the chance to work together and formulate escape plans. Sure, they'll probably try to escape individually anyway, but you still want to make it as hard as possible for them, and 2 heads are always better than 1. Number 3. Pausing to gloat when you capture your enemies. You know you're only just giving them more time to escape. They know you're only just giving them more time to escape. It's even worse when you gloat by giving away the details of your evil plot that they hadn't figured out yet. Just lock them up or shoot them and then gloat to your henchmen afterward. You can even toast your success. It'll be so much fun. Number 4. Capturing the heroes, then taking them back to your secret hideout, where they can escape and sneak around ruining your plans, or run away and tell everybody where your hideout is. If you have to hold the heroes captive, do so in a separate location. And don't tell me you don't have one. If you can afford a secret hideout, you can afford a shack in the woods, or an abandoned warehouse, or a no-tell-motel room where you can keep them locked away until further notice. Number 5. Why capture the heroes at all? Why not just kill them on the spot? To be fair with this one, there are a few reasons why a villain wouldn't want the hero dead right away. Maybe they need information from them, or they need them as a bargaining chip later on. I will give you some leeway there. But if the villain and their henchmen have been shooting at the hero or trying to blow them up the whole story, and then suddenly has them dead to rights and decides to not kill them, dude, you have to know this is just going to come back to bite you later. Just do it. Number 6. Mistreating those who work for them so they'll inevitably turn against them later. I've seen this one take a few forms. Sometimes the villain is just a general dick to everybody around them, or sometimes they physically abuse or even kill their employees for whatever reason they feel like that day, be it incompetence or they just don't like the shape of their face. I think a lot of writers do this to really drive home the fact that their villain is evil, but if they're working for a corrupt organization or trying to blow up the Capitol, we already know that. Having them mistreat their henchmen just makes them less desirable as an employer, and people aren't going to stick around for long. But the absolute worst version of this trope is when it's not even people that the villain is mistreating, but a violent pet or bloodthirsty monster that they keep chained up in the basement to devour their enemies. Like, hey dumbass, the second that thing gets loose, you know it's coming for you, right? Number 7. Speaking of matters of personal and professional safety, who are these villains who build walkways above vats of toxic chemicals, or active volcanoes, or rivers full of crocodiles? I get that it's supposed to intimidate the heroes, but surely you're just trading 5 minutes of intimidation for a lifetime of preventable accidents. I'm no inspector, but that has to violate some workplace safety regulations. Number 8. Installing self-destruct buttons or leaving glaring flaws in your Doomsday device so that it can be shut down by taking out one core element. Because let's be real, those are basically the same thing, just by different names. You're telling me that something that big and that destructive doesn't have some kind of backup generator to keep it going just in case there's a problem? Like, I don't know, heroes trying to blow it up? That should be Doomsday Engineering 101. The only time this is even remotely acceptable is if you're Dr. Doofenshmirtz, because let's be real, he gets a pass for everything. Number 9. Wearing a ring or a necklace or having a tattoo that identifies you as a member of your so-called secret organization. Like, okay, I get that you need a way to identify each other, but this is one of the dumbest ways you could possibly go about it. All the hero has to do is steal one of those rings or make a copy and they can just waltz into your little club unnoticed. Not to mention that anyone walking down the street can see that ring on you and call the cops. I thought it was a given that criminals shouldn't advertise their crimes, but apparently not. And finally, number 10, the villain who allows themselves to be seduced by someone who is clearly working against them, or at the very least, who hasn't yet earned their trust. To be fair, I've seen heroes do this too, and it's equally as dumb then. I constantly find myself astonished by what people will risk to have sex, both in the real world and the fictional ones, so maybe I shouldn't be as surprised as I am whenever this trope pops up. But maybe I just expect better from people on missions with such high stakes. If I had the chance to rule the world, I wouldn't risk it for a pleasure that lasted, at most, an hour. Anyway, that concludes my list of dumb shit villains do. If you have any to add, be sure and comment them down below. Be sure and leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more. Until then, stay brilliant everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.